it is your buddy, Peace and Harmony, with you here today. Much love going out to all the beautiful empowered harmonizers. And we are zooming in and focusing in on how do you handle a relationship where things have gone south, things have gone sideways, things are really not picture perfect anymore, and you want to address the situation without coming across as the bad guy. I find that to be oftentimes a real inhibitive factor that causes people to stay stuck in a trauma bond when they are not comfortable confronting someone who has an extreme personality or a personality disorder, or someone who is always trying to get a leg up, always trying to sort of put the kibosh on your happiness. This is a form of manipulation that many people who are either borderline, narcissistic, sociopathic will do in order to keep you guessing, keeping you second best, keeping you in the dark, keeping you uninformed, uneducated, unhappy, so that you're not really growing to your fullest potential. Really, that's what it's all about, is really sort of growing to be the person that you want to be and that you know that you came to this life to be. So there's this feeling of being squelched, of being alienated, of being painted in a corner, talked into a corner, treated as if you're the bad guy. You're the dunce, you're the odd man out, you're the odd woman out. There's something wrong with your viewpoint. Yet, they continue to dangle you from a cord, some other sort of string or whatever that they're trying to sort of string you along. And a narcissist will do this in order to propagate a supply, in order to keep themselves feeling better than above, and namely in control. It's the ultimate, stealing your thunder, stealing the spotlight. No one else can compare to them. So they make sure that any contenders who could come up in the race with them don't have a chance. And, it's a very distressful situation, because oftentimes you are painted to be the bad guy when you're not the bad guy. You're painted to be the bad girl when you're not the bad girl. Sticking up for your human rights, to be treated fairly, to not to be sort of, taken into conversations that all of a sudden try to, start out in a balanced manner, all of a sudden going down a rabbit hole that is meant to get you aggravated, taking you off track, taking you off focus, but recurring again and again and again. It is so unbelievably sad that people fall for this manipulation tactic of chronic criticism, of chronic belittling, of making you doubt yourself. This is gaslighting. This is brainwashing. This is taking you to a place that is where life is not happy, life is not glorious. You can't smile without them saying, what's up with your smile? Your smile's too big, your smile's too wide. Whatever it is, why are you smiling? There's always these false accusations. So you need to understand, namely, that when you're in a relationship with someone who is manipulative, there's always going to be, quote unquote, the bad guy, the bad girl. You are bad. You are guilty. There's something inherently wrong. I want you to know that it has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with the narcissist, with the manipulator, with the controller, with this person and their communication difficulties. People don't see it coming, so they fall for this projection. They fall for the manipulation. They think, well, if they're very susceptible, for example, if you're a child, if this is a new friend, if this is a new boyfriend, a new girlfriend, and you're trying to, impress them, and you're trying to get on their good side, and you're just trying to have a good old-fashioned chat or relationship, and then you find after the love bombing, all of a sudden, they begin to nitpick, and they begin to do more and more and more and more, to the point where you find yourself under manipulation, under their control, subject to their opinion, which is not founded in fact and founded oftentimes in your best interest. It's designed to throw you off and cause you to doubt yourself. And this is flawed projection on the behalf of the narcissist. The narcissist will do this unequivocally to have you stop in your tracks and go, huh? And then silence you. Silence you to be the bad guy, the bad girl, that there's something inherently wrong with you, which is erroneous and flawed thinking. It is all false. But people are so enmeshed in the relationship that there's no separation, and they're so heavily invested in the relationship that they don't feel comfortable confronting. They don't feel comfortable saying stop. They don't feel comfortable to put the kibosh on it and say, that's not true, get out of here with that. They're afraid to spark narcissistic rage. They've seen it before. They don't want to be on the receiving end. So people then become afraid to confront, afraid to call out, afraid to call a spade, not only for what happens in the moment, but also for truly what happens in the long run. And oftentimes the fear is blown out in your mind greater than, you're not giving yourself credit for being able to manage the confrontation. Maybe this is not a skill that you have developed, but but yet you have not developed as of yet. In other words, you need to know how to put the brakes on someone who is a manipulator. And not only in the present moment, but it also has to do with having foresight into your future and knowing that you can handle uncertainty, you can handle the unknown, you can handle this. Oftentimes, it is that knowing state that you need to have so that if something comes up, you can handle it with grace, you can handle it with ease, you can put the kibosh on someone who's trying to make you feel like the bad guy, the false accusation, creating the fear, the intimidation, as if they're this omnipotent individual with the end-all, be-all measuring stick with which you are to, measure yourself. And this measuring stick is nothing but an erroneous thinking. It is a manipulation designed by the narcissist to get you to concede and basically defer to them as the boss, the champion, the only one, who knows anything. Whatever it is that their issue is, they want to be the one on top. They want to be the one who is right. They have to be the one who wins. They create fights to win, to show you who's who, what's what. But oftentimes the problem is that these fights come out of nowhere. I mean, you can be at a family gathering, an easy, lazy Sunday afternoon, a walk in the park, and all of a sudden, your toe to your heel is not the right direction. Your shoes, why are you wearing such nice shoes on this walk? I mean, everything becomes a target for causing you to take you off of your game, off of your happiness, off of your focus. All of a sudden, you are the bad guy. You are the bad girl. You're not, you didn't dress right. You're not talented enough. You're too early. You're too late. I mean, anything is up for what I call conflict consciousness with these individuals. It is nothing more than a manipulation tactic. But people become very sore especially when this is their loved one or someone who they're trying to love, is then using this really at whatever stage of the relationship that it is. It can be very painful and really catch people off guard. And oftentimes they don't realize that it's a tactic because they so value this person, they so respect this person, they so want to have a relationship that they take their insinuating comments on at face value. They don't learn to check in with their inner essence. They don't learn to check in with their inner guide and kind of check in with themselves and say, you know what, I'm not all that they're projecting onto you. But little by little, it'll corrode you. It'll corrupt you. It'll get you to the core where basically you feel like, a crumbling, slobbering mess. And then there's this pivoting of, well, then tell me what I need to do to improve. What do you want me to do? And then there's this people-pleasing, codependent perspective that is then created and fostered by these types of individuals. So it's a complete disempowering of perspective. It is a very, very difficult place to be, and unequivocally, you need to protect yourself from these individuals. It can get monstrous, and I'm using that word in a very literal manner. But the thing you need to understand is that there's nothing wrong with you. You are not bad. You are not inferior. You don't have all these problems. Your shoes are the right way. Your socks are the right way. Your hair, whatever it is that they're trying to, you can just, eventually you could collect these, like a sticker collection. I mean, so many different things. You could collect a whole book of all the different insults, but it's only designed to keep you down. You need to understand that when a narcissist really digs in, they will dig in their heels. They will dig in their claws. Everything is subject. The most innocent, the most benign is subject for targeting. But the problem is that people lose perspective when they're in relationships. Either it's a desire to please this person, which once again, I think it's important to understand that it's coming from a place of love when you're people pleasing or being codependent, but yet it's disempowering to you. It's making you dependent on this person. Your independence and your own perspective is not supported. You are not given the full respect that you need to grow and to become the person that you deserve to be. It's very difficult to grow and be happy if you don't have support, if you don't have respect, if you don't have boundaries, and if you don't have standards, if you don't have self-trust. This then turns and is internalized by this person and then becomes self-sabotage. You're internalizing the negative aspects of the manipulator and then taking them at face value. So it has nothing to do with truth. You can't see yourself because you're so engrossed and you're so deep in that you can't sort of shake yourself out of it and then say, that's not correct. You feel it would be rude. You shouldn't talk that way to your spouse. You shouldn't talk that way to your parent. You shouldn't talk that way to a colleague. Whatever it is, there's usually an excuse that's keeping you silenced. So the narcissist, particularly, I find them, in the spectrum to be more the manipulators and try to get this one up. Where the people who are psychopathic, they're more about the deception, the deceiving. And I do include them in my videos because I oftentimes feel that the feeling of being a victim is very similar but varies on intensity. So being caught in this whirlwind of trying to find the truth and get your confidence back is so very important. If you have been in a relationship where you have been told, the conversations all of a sudden go down a rabbit hole where you're just trying to have a conversation and then the rabbit hole is designed to throw you off and distract you. Like, remember when, this and this, and you're like, this has nothing to do with the conversation. Or, they're talking about some element that has nothing to do, for example, someone at their finest moment, they're graduating, we're coming on the end of this semester for a lot of people who have perhaps kids in school, high school or college. They're graduating college, they have straight A's, they're valedictorian. Doesn't she have such small feet? Just out of nowhere, just comes some random, just designed to throw you off of their glory, designed to throw you off of you being in the spotlight. There always has to be something more severe and usually thrown in with more of a harsh statement. That's just like, the tone means like all they are to be judged on is by the size of their feet. There's this insinuating in tone where all of a sudden all of their accomplishments, they're being a valedictorian, whatever it is, their finest moment, you know it is and how it applies to your situation. All of a sudden, that doesn't matter. That's not in focus. All that matters is the size of this person's feet or whatever it is. So you'll understand that when these topics kind of go sideways, go south, and you or someone who you care about is made to be the bad guy, the bad girl, realize that this is nothing but a brainwashing technique. It's designed to make you question and doubt. Question and doubt. Question and doubt yourself, and then just experience a severe state of distrust. Distrusting yourself, being unhappy. I'm not good enough. I'm flawed. If you're having these thoughts, unequivocally, this is part of the manipulation, and it's a horrific, terrible, just horrible thing that they do to people, to innocent, good, smart, loving, kind people. They just shred them up at the seams. It is absolutely terrible, the amount of decades of time that people will be engrossed in trying to figure out if they are good enough, if they are lovable, if they are smart, if they have a chance at life, to living a good life, to having relationships, to having family, to having a spouse, to having, siblings, to having a future. I mean, everything can be darkened. It is like a complete dark cloud that just can loom over you, and you think that you're the cause. That's the problem. You are not the cause. The projection of the manipulator, of the malignant narcissist, is the cause. They are throwing mud. They're throwing, this sort of emotional negativity, which is so very seething, and really it just gets you into a deep cellular level where you live, where your I am lives, which is your core. But unbeknownst to you, especially people who have, they don't see this coming in this person, or it would not make sense to them. Why would a mother try to take down their own child? Why would they try to destroy their own child? Why would they try to plant seeds of doubt when aren't you supposed to raise a child? So it does not make computing sense. It does not make emotional sense. Or likewise, with your spouse, the person who you choose to spend your life with. Wouldn't it be a waste to just get caught up in all this fighting? Life is too short to spend your time fighting, hating, judging. The bad guy. That is nothing more than a label, a judgment that people hang, and they go, whoop, just willingly put it over, on their head, and wear the label, I'm the bad guy, I'm the bad girl, I am inherently flawed, nobody look at me, I'm horrific, and trying to over obligate to prove that they are lovable, to prove that they're a person of worth, and then to be shot down, and someone says, I told you so. It's important to understand that you are not the false accusations. You are not the self-doubt. You are not the depression. This is effect of the cause of this projection. And I talk about it very seriously because it is so very serious. It is so very, in my mind, in my heart, I think it's really one of the most catastrophic things that someone can go through, is to be debilitated emotionally, to be derailed in this manner, to be told lies about themselves, to be emotionally abused, to be taken for granted, their naivete, for a child to be filled with these seeds of doubt is really one of the most, in my mind, one of the most unintuitive things to do. Why would you, try to break down the very human being who it is your job to raise? It's just, it does not make any intuitive sense. It's so contradictory to the relationship dynamics and structure that it just you can unequivocally tell that it's at the fault of the manipulator. It is their insecurity that is the cause of this projection. If you understand anything about the narcissist, they have very little self-esteem. Despite all their, big talk, their big house, their big car, their big whatever, their big ego, all of that is to set off and compensate for how negatively they truly feel about themselves. And don't make it your job then to rescue and find a fixer up in these people. Learning about this information. Well, maybe I should, convince them how lovable they are and do all this and over-obligate and become a people pleaser and a codependent. Perhaps you've worn those shoes of a codependent too long. It's enough is enough for you to, sacrifice your happiness, which is the most precious thing. It's your inalienable God-given right to have the joy of being. That is why you're here on this earth. It is part of your perspective that you need to acknowledge and validate, so that when, and to realize you are not the bad boy, the bad girl. All these different, things that, you're not worth calling at the time, when the time's right, ignoring you, betraying you behind your back. This is not right. This is not fair. This is dysfunction. This is unhealthy. Yet people put up with it because oftentimes there's a naivete. They don't see it coming. They wouldn't expect it. They have very difficult time confronting these people. Their mouth might open, but words might not come out. And so, it is important for you to understand that you might need to get better at confronting these negative projectors, these malignant narcissists, these people who are manipulative and to have gotten to and sort of gotten this negative and created this self-doubt. Self-doubt at the hands of another can unequivocally change for the better. Unequivocally it can, but you must understand what flawed thinking is. Flawed thinking is taking what they say at face value and swallowing it and internalizing it like a big horse pill. Okay? And taking their negative projection, their garbage, their emotional baggage, and internalizing it and making it your own. Unequivocally, this happens because you don't know better. Oftentimes, once again, naivete. This might be your first rodeo. This might be your first teenage sweetheart who you married. This might be someone who you fell head over heels with. So you're giving them a lot of slack. Oh, they're so handsome, or they're so gorgeous, or oh, let me take some slack. So you start, the jar. I call it the self-belief jar. You might enter into the relationship with a pretty full jar, and little by little, they might take out your self-confidence, your belief in yourself. And this might occur at different stages of life. Unequivocally, the earlier in life, the very more difficult it is to gain perspective. If this was a parent who was sort of deluding you with this self-doubt and this comparison and judging and this flawed thinking and flawed projection and not giving you the support, the eye contact, the attention, the respect, that presence, which is, being there for somebody. I mean, unequivocally, someone can be a mother, but they don't serve the role of a mother. They might have been the person who birthed you, but they're not really truly there as a mother. So you might have difficulty calling them a mother. Same thing with a spouse. You might not feel very close to this person or whomever this person is. It doesn't take the shape. So unequivocally, you need to come to full acknowledgement in terms with this in a very objective manner. And to get objective, which means very factual, is to understand you're not all the negative mudslinging that the manipulator will cause you to get down and then up, and then doubt yourself. Unequivocally, without a doubt, when they engage in this do not converse back. Do not take the bait. Do not give it any energy. Don't give it any attention. If this is chronic and ongoing, where all the time you're feeling like a dog with its tails between its legs, you're too afraid to bark at it, you're too afraid to confront it, you're too afraid to call it what it is because it's been going on so long, or once again, the naivete. I didn't know that this was happening. I just discovered that there is a lot of selfishness going on where a lot of burden is being put on everybody else, and all this person is doing is just walking along, humdinging along, and expects you to just put up with the anger, the manipulation, and you haven't been able to confront it. And so maybe it's been years. I think for a lot of people, it's gotten to be, they've gotten so used to it that they don't know how to confront it. They don't know how to address it. They don't know how to put one foot in front of the other, one word in front of the other. Stop. No. Begin with one word. If you need to develop this with where you're at, oftentimes a lot of people, they're trying to create an exit strategy. It's very difficult to have conversation with this person. They cut them off at the knees every time. What do you mean talking like that? And then they're afraid of this narcissistic rage, which once again, it's like it's like a 2-year-old in an adult body. It can be very intimidating. It can be very difficult to address. But I can tell you unequivocally, you can do it. You can do this. You can stand up to the person who is attempting to ruin your happiness, to ruin your heart, to ruin your joy. You unequivocally can call it what it is, even if it's difficult, even if it doesn't make sense, even if it's unfair, even if it's unjust, even if you've put up with it for so long and it's too late for me. Enough of these excuses. Begin to know what your excuses are. I haven't done this for so long. I'm afraid what they're going to think of me. I'm afraid of what they're going to say. All this is fear, but do you see? You're dreaming it up. You're creating a fear that does not exist yet. You are not the bad guy. You are not the bad girl for saying no, for saying this is intolerable, this is ridiculous. You need to be able to get that clarity of thought so that your communication can follow. So you need to get clear in understanding what some of these forms of manipulation are so you can identify it and get yourself out of the way and out of believing in this brainwashing. Get yourself unbrainwashed. Oftentimes is what you have to unlearn. Deprogram, decondition yourself to feeling and thinking and how you identify, because your thoughts repeated over time create a mood, and then mood created over a longer period of time becomes a temperament and then your identity. So until you take a step back and go, whoa, like in the privacy of these videos, realizing how very influential in a negative way some of their statements can be, it's very important to get perspective and to be able to confront and to be able to put a stop to and a kibosh and extinguish these. But you have to know, if you know it in your heart first by the work of identifying it, you'll know that all that negativity is belonging to them. You, though, on your naivete, you didn't see it coming. You did not know better. You did not have the filter. You did not have the learning. You didn't have those self-protective boundaries set up. So violation energy. You did not know better, but you are stronger than that. Send them to the light with love. Send them to the light. Send them to the light. Just let them go in love and light, and let them go, and then begin to regain a sense of not only prosperity, but ingenuity, creativity, and innocence, and joy and curiosity for living again. Begin to allow yourself to breathe and breathe through it. Breathe through this work. Begin to allow yourself to exhale and get all of it out. And when you do that, when you come into a peaceful body by doing this work, understanding how this has perhaps created a big dent, a gouge, or a damage, or a scar on you emotionally. It's to be able to pull back and know you're not all the bad, the trouble, all these different things that you might have internalized. Begin to dissociate and disidentify with that, and begin to confront. If you're still in relationships, begin to confront with 1 to 2 words. No. Stop. Not now. No more. And use your body language to show that you mean business, that you're putting an end, a boundary, and a standard. I deserve better. Not that. No, you come at me with something positive. Make a request of that person and begin to communicate in the ways that you need to. You'll feel so much better. Give it a try. Practice in your heart and you can do it. Peace and harmony here. I hope that these videos do help. Please share and please subscribe for more great tools, videos, discussion, and support. Peace out.